The alien princess taunted the human warrior until her mother announced, "He is your husband." Commander Elias Gray looked out from the observation deck of the sleek Earth shuttle as it descended toward Aero Prime. The planet's surface gleamed like a jewel. Floating cities hovered over glowing crystal forests, and rivers of liquid light twisted and turned in impossible shapes. The colors were unlike anything Elias had ever seen. Even after years of space travel, he felt a small thrill of wonder. The shuttle landed on a platform that shimmered with translucent panels. When the doors opened, a gentle breeze swept past him. It smelled faintly sweet, like flowers mixed with ozone. He stepped out into a world that seemed almost alive. The city's towers rose in spirals, connected by bridges that floated in midair. People moved along them with a grace that made them seem weightless. Elias realized that Aero Prime was not just beautiful, it was intelligent, as if the planet itself had been designed to teach respect for its mysteries. A group of beings approached him. They had tall, slender frames, their skin shining faintly in shades of pearl and silver. Their faces were angular but gentle, and their eyes glowed softly. At their head was a woman dressed in flowing robes of crystal blue and white. She moved with authority but also warmth. Elias instinctively bowed slightly. "You must be Commander Elias Gray," she said, her voice clear and melodic. "Welcome to Aero Prime. I am Queen Selara." Elias straightened. "It is an honor to meet you, Your Majesty. Thank you for welcoming me to your world." The Queen smiled, a hint of amusement in her glowing eyes. "You are brave to travel so far from your home planet. Many would not dare, but courage alone is not enough here. You must show wisdom, patience, and understanding." Before he could respond, a young woman stepped forward from behind the Queen. Her movements were quick, precise, almost playful. She had hair like spun silver and eyes that sparkled with mischief. "And I am Princess Liara," she said, bowing lightly. "I hope you are ready, human, because I do not go easy on newcomers." Elias raised an eyebrow, a small smile forming on his lips. "I do not plan to make it easy for you either, Princess." Liara laughed, a sound like wind chimes. "Bold words. Let us see if you can match them with action." The Queen gestured toward a grand hall behind her. "The challenges begin there. Do not be discouraged. They are not meant to harm you, but to test your mind and character. Liara, you will guide him." Liara's eyes glinted. "Oh, I will guide him, all right, but mostly I will test him." Elias followed her through the hall. The room was enormous, its walls made of a strange material that seemed to shift in color as they walked past. In the center of the room was a large platform hovering a few feet above the ground. On it were several devices and objects he could not identify. "Your first challenge," Liara said, pointing at the platform, "is to assemble this puzzle. Each piece represents a principle of our culture. You must understand them and place them in the correct order. Fail, and you must explain why." Elias stepped forward. The pieces were crystalline shapes, glowing softly. He examined them carefully. At first, they seemed random, but soon he noticed patterns, symmetry, balance, and connections he had not seen at first glance. He remembered something Queen Selara had said: wisdom, patience, and understanding. He took a deep breath and began arranging the pieces. Liara watched him with a mixture of amusement and curiosity. "Interesting," she said. "Most humans would panic at first. You seem calm." Elias smiled faintly. "Panic does not solve problems. Observation does." Minutes passed, but it felt like hours. The shapes shifted slightly under his hands as if responding to his understanding. Finally, he placed the last piece, and a soft chime echoed through the hall. The platform lit up fully, casting a warm glow. Liara's eyes widened. "Well, that was unexpected. You solved it." Elias bowed slightly. It was not just about solving it. It was about seeing it as a whole, not just as separate pieces. Liara tilted her head, studying him. "You may be smarter than I thought, human, but the first test is only the beginning." Before he could respond, the Queen's voice echoed from above. "Well done, Commander. You have demonstrated observation and patience, qualities most of my people value highly. But remember, a challenge is not complete until one also demonstrates humility and understanding." Elias nodded. "I understand, Your Majesty. I will continue to learn." Liara smirked. "I have another test for you then. This one is more personal." She waved her hand and the room shifted. Walls became transparent, revealing a small garden with glowing plants. A path wound through the greenery. At the end was a strange creature, part mechanical, part organic, moving slowly. This creature, Liara said, represents your understanding of relationships. You must approach it correctly or it will retreat. Elias walked carefully. He observed the creature, noticing its movements and the way it responded to the energy in the room. It seemed to react to intention. He spoke softly, explaining calmly what he saw and what he intended. The creature paused, then moved closer, allowing him to guide it along the path. Liara's eyes widened again. Humans, you are patient and kind even when challenged. That is rare among my people. Most would have tried to force it. Elias shrugged. Forcing rarely works. Understanding does. Liara shook her head, half frustrated, half amused. You may survive my tests yet. As the day continued, Elias faced more challenges, each designed to test intelligence, empathy, and patience rather than physical skill. He solved intricate puzzles, navigated strange mazes, and learned about alien customs in real time. Each time, Liara observed, sometimes teasing, sometimes genuinely impressed. By the evening, Elias was exhausted but satisfied. Liara, too, seemed different than before, less teasing, more curious. The two walked through a balcony overlooking the city, which now glowed under two moons. You are unusual human, Liara said softly. Most who come here only care about proving strength or winning. You seem to care about understanding. Elias looked at her, smiling faintly. Strength without understanding is empty. I came here to learn, not conquer. Liara studied him for a moment, then shook her head with a small smile. Perhaps you are worth watching. But beware, human. My mother sees far more than I do. She may already know whether you are worthy. Elias nodded. Then I will continue to try, not for her, but to understand your world, and you, princess. Liara's expression softened slightly, though she quickly replaced it with a teasing glance. Do not make me laugh, Commander. You will have to earn that understanding first. The stars reflected in the city below as Elias and Liara returned to the palace. For Elias, it was a day of challenges, learning, and discovery. For Liara, it was the first time in many years that someone human had met her wit, patience, and curiosity with genuine intelligence. Neither fully realized it yet, but a bond was beginning, a connection that would grow stronger with each challenge, each conversation, and each shared moment. Queen Celera watched from above, her face calm but thoughtful. She had seen countless beings attempt to impress her daughter, but Elias Grey was different. He did not rely on intimidation, flashy displays, or arrogance. His strength was in his mind, his patience, and his heart. That, she thought, could be exactly what Liara needed, not just for the challenges ahead, but for life in a universe that required more than strength. As the night deepened, the palace shimmered in quiet luminescence. The floating gardens and towers seemed to whisper with potential. Elias Grey, a human from a distant world, had arrived not just to face tests, but to begin a journey that would change the lives of those on Arrow Prime forever. And Liara, the princess who loved to taunt, found herself both challenged and intrigued by this human who did not play the games in the way she expected. The first day had ended, but the real journey, the one of understanding, respect, and perhaps something deeper, was only beginning. The morning sun rose over Arrow Prime, casting soft golden light over the floating city. Commander Elias Grey awoke in his assigned quarters, still marveling at the beauty of the palace. Every surface shimmered, every hallway seemed to hum with quiet energy, and the air smelled faintly sweet, like the mixture of flowers and minerals. Elias had traveled to many worlds, but Arrow Prime had a sense of life and intelligence that made him feel small, yet excited. A gentle knock sounded at the door. Before he could respond, it opened, and Princess Liara stepped inside. She wore a simple robe of silvery blue that shimmered as she moved. Her eyes sparkled with mischief, but there was a softness behind them that surprised Elias. "Good morning, Commander," she said lightly. "I hope you slept well. Today we continue your lessons." Elias smiled politely. "Good morning, Princess. I am ready for whatever challenges you have in store," Liara smirked. "That is what worries me. Most humans panic. You remain calm. Let's see if that lasts." The two walked through the palace corridors, passing floating gardens where plants of impossible colors and shapes glowed gently. Birds, or creatures resembling birds, fluttered past, leaving trails of light in their wake. The air was warm, filled with the quiet hum of energy that made even the simplest steps feel magical. "Today, your lessons are not just puzzles," Liara said as they entered a chamber filled with translucent spheres. "You must understand my people, our ways, and how we think." And perhaps you might even teach me something in return. Elias nodded. I am ready. I hope to learn as much as I can. Liara pointed to a large sphere in the center of the room. This is the sphere of reflection. When you step inside, it shows not just your own thoughts, but your intentions and how they affect others. Many fail to see clearly. They see only themselves. Humans often do the same. Let's see if you are different. Elias took a deep breath and stepped inside. The sphere was warm, almost comforting, and the walls shimmered with shifting colors. He felt a soft pressure, as if the sphere were reading his mind, then projecting images in a gentle stream of light. He saw himself walking among his crew back on Earth, solving problems, listening to concerns, and helping others work together. He saw how his choices affected those around him, not always perfectly, but with genuine care. The sphere seemed to respond, glowing brighter with each thoughtful decision he remembered. Liara watched from outside, her arms crossed, her curiosity piqued. Most humans would panic or try to manipulate the sphere, she said. But you are honest with yourself. That is rare. When Elias stepped out, the sphere dimmed. You passed, Liara said softly, though her voice held more respect than teasing this time. It shows that you think beyond yourself. Many here, even my people, fail this test. Elias smiled faintly. Understanding others is important. It is easy to think only of oneself, but true solutions come when we consider everyone affected. Liara studied him. She had expected cleverness or charm, but what she saw in Elias was something deeper. Patience, empathy, and the quiet confidence of someone who acted with integrity rather than pride. She felt a flicker of admiration she could not hide behind her usual teasing. The queen appeared silently behind them, her presence serene and commanding. Well done, Elias, she said. You continue to show qualities my daughter will need in the challenges ahead. Your mind is strong and your heart is clear. Liara, it seems this human may teach you more than you anticipated. Liara pursed her lips, trying to hide her acknowledgement, but Elias noticed the softness in her expression. He only nodded politely to the queen. Thank you, your majesty. I am learning every day from this world and its people. After the sphere of reflection, Liara led Elias to a garden terrace where floating platforms formed a winding path over a small lake that shimmered with bioluminescent plants. Your next lesson, Liara said, is about observation and adaptability. You must cross the lake using the platforms. But the platforms change depending on how you approach them. Many give up in frustration. Humans often give up too quickly. Let's see if you do the same. Elias stepped forward carefully, analyzing each platform's position and movement. Unlike others who might rely solely on strength, he watched patterns and timing. He adjusted his steps, predicting how each platform would shift, moving smoothly across the lake. The platforms glowed brighter with each correct step. Liara followed him, quietly impressed. Most humans would have fallen halfway across, trying to force the path, she admitted. You watch and adapt. You learn from the environment rather than fight it. That is clever. Elias paused at the last platform and turned to her. Adaptation is often better than resistance. When you force your way, you may succeed temporarily, but you risk failure in the long term. Liara raised an eyebrow, a smile tugging at her lips. Well said. Perhaps you are not as ordinary as I thought human. By mid-afternoon, they returned to the palace, where Liara introduced Elias to members of her court. He listened carefully, asking questions and learning about the alien society, its values, and its history. Unlike many visitors who tried to impress or dominate, Elias sought understanding. He treated each person with respect and curiosity, earning quiet admiration from those around him. During a break, Liara led him to a balcony overlooking the city. I admit I did not expect you to be different, she said quietly. Most humans are loud, impatient, and self-focused. You listen, you think, you observe. I cannot decide whether I should respect you or be annoyed at your success. Elias chuckled softly. I do not come to annoy anyone. I come to understand and learn. That is all I can promise. Liara shook her head, smiling. It is frustrating. I do not know whether to tease you more or to learn from you. Elias looked at her, meeting her playful gaze. Perhaps you can do both. Teaching and learning can happen together if one is willing to try. Liara laughed lightly. I suppose that is true, but beware, I am a stubborn teacher and an even more stubborn learner. As the sun set, casting golden and violet hues across the sky, Elias found himself reflecting on the day. He had solved challenges, adapted to new environments, and earned the respect of both Liara and her people. Yet he sensed that the real tests were still ahead. This was not a competition of strength or skill, but of mind, patience, and empathy. And that, he thought, was exactly the kind of challenge he was ready for. That evening, the queen invited Elias to a private audience. He entered a room of calm light where she waited with serene composure. "You continue to impress, Elias," the queen said, "but your greatest lessons are still to come. Liara is clever and playful, but she must learn humility, and you must learn diplomacy and patience in ways that may surprise you. Your bond with her will not form overnight. True understanding takes time and mutual respect." Elias bowed. "I understand, Your Majesty. I am honored to be allowed to learn here, and I promise to respect your daughter and your people." The queen nodded. "Good. Remember, strength is not measured by power alone. A leader's worth comes from wisdom, empathy, and the ability to unite others. You have shown promise, but the greatest test is how you apply these qualities in unforeseen situations." After the audience, Elias returned to his quarters. Liara appeared again, leaning casually against the doorframe. "You seem serious tonight, human," she said. "Do you ever stop thinking, or do you plan and reflect constantly?" Elias smiled. "Reflection is important. It allows us to learn from our actions and the actions of others. Even now, I think about today and how much I have learned from your people." Liara's expression softened, though she quickly masked it with a teasing tone. "HMPH, you are annoyingly thoughtful, but I suppose I will have to tolerate it for now." They watched the moons rise over Arrow Prime, their soft light reflecting in the floating city below. The air was still and calm, filled with the quiet promise of discovery. Elias felt a sense of belonging he had not expected, even on a world so far from Earth. And Liara, despite herself, felt intrigued by the human who faced every test not with arrogance or force, but with intelligence, patience, and understanding. The night ended quietly, but the connection between them had begun to form. What had started as playful teasing had evolved into curiosity and mutual respect. The stage was set for deeper lessons, more complex challenges, and the possibility of a bond that would change both their worlds. As Elias closed his eyes to rest, he thought of the day's lessons. Patience, observation, understanding, and empathy, these were not just tests. They were qualities that would guide him through whatever challenges Arrow Prime had yet to offer. And Liara, in her private chambers, replayed the day in her mind. For the first time, she considered that perhaps this human, so different from anyone she had known, might not just survive her challenges. Perhaps he could teach her something as well. The journey of understanding had begun, and with it, the first threads of a bond that neither human nor alien could have anticipated. The morning sun spilled soft golden light across the floating towers of Arrow Prime. Commander Elias Gray woke feeling anticipation, not fatigue. Each day in the alien palace brought challenges that tested not his strength, but his mind and character. Today, he sensed, would be another step toward understanding the princess, and perhaps, in ways he did not yet realize, the world itself. As he walked through the corridors, the air filled with the faint hum of energy that seemed to flow through the walls themselves. He paused briefly at a floating window to watch the city below. Its towers rose in spirals, connected by translucent bridges with rivers of glowing light winding through the landscape. For a human, this world was breathtaking, and for someone like Elias, who valued observation above all, it offered endless fascination. A soft voice interrupted his thoughts. "Good morning, Commander." Princess Liara stood beside him, her silver-blue robe catching the sunlight. Her eyes sparkled with the same mischief that had marked their first meeting, but now they held a hint of curiosity and challenge that Elias found intriguing. "Good morning, Princess," he replied with a respectful bow. "I hope you are well today." Liara smirked. "I am well. And I am eager to see how much you have learned since yesterday. Today the tests are less about observation and more about connection." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Connection?" "Yes," Liara said. "Understanding a people and understanding each other. Most humans fail at both, but perhaps you are different." She gestured toward a large hall filled with floating platforms, each with intricate designs and softly glowing symbols. "Today, you will navigate the labyrinth of patterns. The platforms respond not to weight, but to intention and understanding. You must cooperate with me if you are to succeed." Elias studied the platforms. Each one glimmered as if alive. He noticed subtle patterns. Some shifted when approached carefully, others rotated to create paths only when the observer respected their design. The challenge was clear. This test was not about moving fast or forcing a path. It was about observation, trust, and collaboration. Liara stepped forward onto the first platform. "Follow me carefully, Commander," she said, her voice calm but playful. "Try not to embarrass yourself." Elias smiled faintly and stepped after her. The platform glowed under his feet, moving slightly to accommodate his presence. As they advanced, he noticed how Liara's movements influenced the platforms. She was not just guiding him. She was testing his ability to adapt and respond, not only to the environment, but also to her own energy and intentions. "Interesting," he murmured as he adjusted his steps. "The platforms respond to both movement and intention." Liara glanced at him, surprised. "You noticed that quickly. Most would stumble or rush, not considering the effect of their presence on the path itself." Elias shrugged. "Observation is often more powerful than haste. Patience can reveal solutions that force alone cannot." Liara shook her head with a soft laugh. "You are annoyingly clever, human, but we shall see if cleverness alone is enough." The labyrinth of patterns twisted and turned, challenging Elias to maintain focus and calm. At one point, a platform rotated unexpectedly, blocking their path. Liara glanced at him, half expecting panic. Instead, Elias paused, observed the platform, and gently guided it with subtle movements. The path opened, and the platform glimmered in approval. "You continue to impress," Liara said quietly, almost as if she were speaking to herself. "Few would have noticed how to align it properly." Elias offered her a small nod. "Collaboration is not about leading or following. It is about understanding how each part interacts, including each other." Liara's eyes widened slightly. She had expected a human to struggle, perhaps to overthink or act recklessly. Instead, Elias moved with both intelligence and intuition, respecting not only the labyrinth but her guidance as well. By midday, they reached the center of the labyrinth, a floating platform larger than the others, decorated with glowing symbols representing harmony and balance. On it stood a translucent sphere, similar to the sphere of reflection from the day before. Liara gestured toward it. "This is the sphere of understanding," she explained. "Step inside, and it will reveal not just your intentions, but how your actions affect others around you. It is more complex than the last sphere. Many fail to see the truth it shows." Elias stepped into the sphere, feeling the familiar warmth and gentle pressure. This time, the sphere did more than reflect his actions. It projected interactions with Liara herself. It showed moments when his decisions had respected her guidance, when his observations had prevented mistakes, and even moments when his calm patience had allowed her to trust him more fully. He saw how small gestures, nodding at the right moment, adjusting his pace, listening carefully, created harmony in the environment. He saw Liara's admiration growing, even when hidden beneath her teasing expressions. Most importantly, he saw that true understanding was not just about knowledge, but about empathy and respect. When he emerged, the sphere glowed softly, acknowledging his insight. Liara studied him silently, then finally said, You have done more than I expected. You do not just follow, you understand. Few beings, human or alien, achieve that." Elias bowed slightly. "Understanding is a gift that must be earned, Princess, and I am learning from you as well." Liara's usual teasing smirk softened. "Perhaps you are not like other humans. You are patient, observant, and thoughtful. It is frustrating to admit." The afternoon brought more challenges, each designed to test collaboration, creativity, and adaptability. They worked together to solve a puzzle that required them to synchronize their movements, align floating crystals to refract light correctly, and even communicate with subtle gestures. Elias listened carefully to Liara's instructions and suggestions, offering his own observations when necessary. Together, they achieved results that neither could have accomplished alone. Throughout the day, Liara's attitude toward him began to shift. Her teasing became less sharp, her challenges more subtle and thoughtful. She was no longer merely trying to provoke him. She was testing how well he could adapt to new situations, how well he could listen, and how much respect he showed for her perspective. Elias, in turn, treated her as an equal partner, valuing her knowledge and insight as much as his own. By evening, the princess led Elias to a balcony overlooking the glowing city below. The rivers of light reflected in their eyes as they stood side by side. For a long moment they were silent, simply observing the beauty of Arrow Prime. "You are different," Liara said softly, her voice almost vulnerable. "Most beings I meet only care about themselves. You think of others, and yet you do not seem weak. You are patient, intelligent, and surprisingly humble." Elias smiled faintly. "Humility is not weakness. It is understanding one's place in the world and recognizing the value of others. That includes you, Princess." Liara looked at him closely, caught between surprise and admiration. "I did not expect to find a human like you here, one who does not boast, who does not force, who listens." Elias inclined his head respectfully. "I came to learn, not to impress. Your world is incredible, and your people deserve respect. That includes you." For the first time, Liara felt a spark of genuine warmth toward him. She realized that the teasing she had once enjoyed was no longer necessary. Here was a being who could match her wit, her intelligence, and her patience, not through force or charm, but through quiet respect and understanding. Queen Selara appeared silently behind them, her presence serene and commanding. "You have both done well today," she said. "Liara, you are learning that strength is not always measured by teasing or skill alone. Elias, you are learning that true connection requires patience, empathy, and humility. Continue this path, and you may discover more than either of you expects." Liara turned slightly, bowing her head. "Yes, mother." Her gaze shifted to Elias, and for a brief moment her expression was open, almost tender. "You are remarkable human. I suppose I should warn you I may not go easy on you tomorrow." Elias chuckled softly. "I welcome the challenge, Princess. Learning is always better with a worthy partner." As night fell, the palace shimmered under the light of 2 moons. The floating gardens glowed softly, and the city below sparkled with life. Elias returned to his quarters, reflecting on the day. He had faced complex challenges, adapted to unexpected situations, and gained the respect of an alien princess, a bond built not on force, but on understanding. Meanwhile, Liara lay in her chambers, thinking of Elias. She had expected a human to falter, to be impatient or arrogant. Instead, she found someone thoughtful, patient, and intelligent. She realized that teasing him was no longer enough. She wanted to know more, to understand him as he had learned to understand her world. The day had ended, but the journey was far from over. Challenges, discoveries, and unexpected lessons awaited them both. And in the quiet of the night, a bond was forming, a connection that promised to grow stronger with trust, mutual respect, and shared understanding. For Elias Gray, the human warrior, Arrow Prime was no longer just a place of tests. It was a world of learning, friendship, and possibility. And for Liara, the princess who had once only taunted, Elias was no longer just a visitor. He was a partner, a teacher in unexpected ways, and perhaps, in time, something even more significant. The stage was set for greater challenges, deeper understanding, and the possibility of a bond that neither human nor alien had anticipated. And as the moons rose high above the city, both felt that the journey ahead would be unlike anything they had ever experienced. Together, the morning light on Arrow Prime was softer than anywhere on Earth, diffused through the crystal towers that reflected every color imaginable. Commander Elias Gray walked along the palace gardens, his footsteps careful on the translucent walkways. The air shimmered faintly with energy, carrying the soft scent of luminous flowers and the gentle hum of the city below. Today felt different, though he could not say why. Princess Liara approached him, her robe of silver blue catching the sunlight like flowing water. She moved with a grace that made her appear weightless, though there was a quiet determination in her step. "Good morning, Commander," she said, her tone playful but slightly serious. "Today's challenges will test more than your mind. They will test your understanding of my people and perhaps yourself." Elias smiled. "I am ready. Whatever you ask, I will do my best." Liara raised an eyebrow, half amused. "Bold words, let us see if you can match them." The two entered a large chamber where hundreds of floating spheres hovered in organized patterns. Each sphere glowed softly, representing different aspects of Arrow Prime's culture: science, art, diplomacy, history, and philosophy. Liara gestured to the spheres. "This is the Hall of Harmony," she explained. "You must navigate it, but not as an individual. Each sphere responds not to strength or speed, but to intention, understanding, and cooperation. You must work with me, with the environment, and with the principles the spheres represent. Few can succeed." Elias observed the spheres carefully. Each seemed to respond to the energy of those around it. Some pulsed faster when approached aggressively, others rotated gently when met with calm patience. He realized that the challenge was not just about moving from one end to another. It was about aligning with the principles of harmony, understanding, and respect. Liara stepped forward. We begin together. Watch, learn, and contribute equally. Do not rely solely on yourself. Most humans fail here because they cannot think beyond their own perspective. Elias nodded. I will follow your lead while adding my own understanding. Cooperation requires balance. The two moved through the spheres, carefully coordinating their actions. Elias noticed how Liara's subtle gestures influenced the sphere's responses. He mirrored her movements when appropriate and offered suggestions when he saw opportunities to harmonize their approach. Slowly, they progressed, each step requiring attention, patience, and mutual trust. At one point, a cluster of spheres shifted unexpectedly, blocking the path forward. Liara glanced at Elias, half expecting hesitation. Instead, he paused, considered the movement, and gently suggested a way to approach them differently. By adjusting their steps and intentions, the spheres aligned, opening a new path. You continue to surprise me, human, Liara said quietly, her tone more sincere than teasing. Most would have panicked or forced the way. You think and you adapt. Elias offered a small smile. Adaptation and observation often solve challenges faster than force. Respecting the environment and those around you is key. By midday, they reached the center of the hall, a platform larger than any before, floating gently above the others. On it rested a single large sphere that glimmered with every color of the spectrum. Liara gestured for Elias to step forward. This is the sphere of reflection, she said. It will show your impact on others, not just my people, but yourself as well. It is the final step in today's challenge. Elias entered the sphere. Immediately, he felt the familiar warmth and pressure. This time, the sphere reflected not only his own actions, but their shared efforts with Liara. He saw how his patience, cooperation, and respect had affected her, allowing her to trust and rely on him. He saw moments where their bond had strengthened simply through shared understanding, subtle gestures, and attentiveness to each other. He also saw Liara differently, not just as a challenging princess, but as someone deeply thoughtful, intelligent, and capable of kindness beneath her teasing exterior. Her confidence, playfulness, and subtle tests had been her way of showing care and expectation. Elias realized that trust and respect were being built in both directions, quietly and carefully. When he emerged from the sphere, Liara's expression had softened. You truly understand more than I expected, she admitted, her voice quieter than before. Most fail to see the connection between action, intention, and impact. You see it. Elias inclined his head respectfully. Understanding is not just about knowing the rules or solving problems. It is about seeing how actions affect others and responding with empathy and insight. You taught me that, princess. Liara's usual playful smirk returned briefly, but there was warmth in her eyes now. Perhaps I did not expect to learn from a human as much as you have learned from me. The queen appeared silently behind them, as serene as ever. Both of you have grown today, she said. Liara, you see that patience, respect, and understanding can bring wisdom beyond power or skill. Elias, you see that true connection requires observation, empathy, and openness. Continue this path, and your bond may become something remarkable, not just for yourselves, but for your people. Liara turned to her mother, bowing lightly. Yes, mother. Then, turning back to Elias, she said, I think I am beginning to understand what you represent, human. You are more than clever, you are thoughtful, patient, and sincere. It is unsettling in a way. Elias smiled gently. Perhaps it is unsettling because it is rare. True understanding rarely is simple or immediate. It grows step by step. Liara looked away briefly, then back at him. You have changed how I see things today, and perhaps you have changed me too. Elias felt a quiet warmth. He had not come here seeking admiration or affection, only understanding and respect. Yet he realized that Liara's words were sincere and meaningful. The teasing that had once marked their interactions was now replaced with honest acknowledgement. The rest of the afternoon was spent exploring the palace's cultural archives. Liara guided him through holographic displays of history, art, and philosophy. She shared stories of her people's struggles and triumphs, and Elias listened attentively, asking questions and offering observations that showed he truly understood their values. At one point, Liara paused in front of a display showing Aero Prime's diplomatic history. Humans rarely succeed here, she said softly. Your people are clever, but Earthlings often cannot grasp the subtlety of our culture. Yet you ask questions, you observe, and you think. It is impressive, Elias bowed slightly. I believe every world has wisdom to offer. I only wish to learn, not to judge or dominate. That is the key to understanding any culture. Liara's expression softened, and she laughed quietly. You are irritatingly wise, human. But perhaps that is why I respect you. You are not like anyone I have met before. As the day drew to a close, the queen summoned them to the palace's grand hall. The room shimmered with energy as floating crystals reflected the setting suns outside. Princess Liara stood beside Elias, her posture more relaxed than it had been in days. Queen Salara's voice echoed through the hall. Today, you have both demonstrated qualities that surpass expectation. Liara, you have learned that even the most unexpected beings can offer wisdom, patience, and insight. Elias, you have shown that true understanding requires not just intelligence, but empathy and humility. And now, she paused, her eyes moving between them. It is time for a recognition that may surprise you both. Liara blinked, her playful expression fading as she looked to her mother. Recognition? She asked softly. The queen's gaze softened. Elias Gray, you have shown qualities that are rare among your people and remarkable even among my own. Liara, your heart has recognized the respect, patience, and understanding he brings. It is only fitting that this recognition be formalized. Elias felt a quiet tension in the air. He did not know what the queen would say, but he remained calm and respectful as always. The queen's voice filled the hall, clear and commanding. Elias Gray, he is your husband. For a moment, silence hung in the air. Liara's eyes widened in shock, and her usual playful demeanor faltered. She looked at Elias, then back at her mother. Husband, she whispered almost inaudibly. Elias bowed his head respectfully. I am honored, your majesty. I promise to respect and care for Princess Liara and to continue learning from her and her people. Liara's face shifted through a mixture of surprise, embarrassment, and something warmer, something she could not immediately name. She had taunted him, tested him, and expected cleverness, but never recognition of this kind. Yet deep inside, she felt a sense of trust and admiration she had not anticipated. The court around them erupted in soft celebration, their applause gentle and harmonious rather than loud or overwhelming. The floating crystals shimmered brighter as if in approval. Liara looked at Elias once more, and despite her initial shock, a small, genuine smile appeared. You are remarkable, she said quietly, almost to herself. I did not expect this or you. Elias offered a faint smile in return. Neither did I, princess, but I am ready to learn whatever comes next together. For the first time, Liara allowed her guard to fall completely. The teasing, playful exterior softened, replaced with genuine warmth. She realized that Elias' patience, intelligence, and respect were not just admirable, they were qualities she could trust and rely upon. Queen Salara watched from above, her expression serene. The recognition had been made, but the real journey, the one of understanding, partnership, and connection, was just beginning. As night fell over Arrow Prime, the moons reflected in the crystal towers, casting soft, luminous light across the city. Elias and Liara stood together on the balcony, looking down at the glowing rivers and floating bridges below. Words were not needed. Their mutual respect and understanding spoke louder than any conversation. The first step toward a bond had been taken. It was a bond built not on force, not on appearance, and not on expectation, but on patience, intelligence, empathy, and trust. And though the path ahead was uncertain, both knew that they would face it together, learning and growing side by side. For Elias Gray, the human warrior, recognition had come not through strength, but through understanding. For Liara, the princess, acceptance came not through teasing or testing, but through acknowledgement of someone who saw her world, and her, with clarity, respect, and care. The day ended, but the journey continued. And under the twin moons of Arrow Prime, the human and the alien princess shared a quiet moment that neither would ever forget. The morning light spread across Arrow Prime like liquid gold, touching every floating city and crystal tower. Commander Elias Gray and Princess Liara stood on the balcony of the palace, watching the city awaken below. The rivers of glowing light shimmered as citizens began their daily routines. There was a calm energy in the air, a feeling of possibility and harmony that only Arrow Prime could possess. Elias turned to Liara, bowing slightly in respect. "Good morning, princess. Now I suppose more properly my wife," he said with a gentle smile. Liara laughed softly, the sound like chimes in the morning breeze. "Yes, commander, husband. It still feels strange to say it out loud, but somehow it also feels right." She looked out over the city, then back at him. "I never expected a human to earn my respect. But you have earned more than that. You've earned my trust." Ilias' gaze softened. "And you've earned mine, not just through guidance or challenge, but through your insight, your playfulness, and your willingness to teach and learn. We are partners in this journey, princess." "That will not change." Together, they walked through the palace gardens, a living tapestry of glowing plants and floating blossoms. The gardens had changed since Ilias first arrived. They now felt like a reflection of the bond forming between the human and the princess. Each step they took was measured, deliberate, and full of awareness of the world around them. Liara led him to a platform that overlooked the city's central plaza. There, a group of scientists, artists, and scholars were gathered, working together in a project that combined human creativity with Aero Prime's technology. Liara smiled. "Look at this, Ilias," she said. "This is the future we can build together. Your people have ingenuity and bold thinking, and our people have insight and harmony. Together, we can create solutions neither could achieve alone." Ilias observed the activity below. Humans and aliens were collaborating seamlessly. They moved with care, respect, and mutual understanding. Platforms floated and shifted to allow everyone to reach the areas they needed, and holographic displays glowed with the results of combined creativity. "It is remarkable," Ilias said quietly. "The possibilities are endless when two worlds work together," Liara nodded, "and we will guide it side by side together." Their days became filled with learning and teaching, discovery and partnership. Ilias introduced Earth technologies, renewable energy solutions, communication systems, and creative problem-solving methods, while Liara and her people shared advanced energy harmonization, floating architecture techniques, and their philosophy of balance and observation. The citizens began to notice the change. The human and the princess worked not as teacher and student, but as equals. They collaborated to solve challenges in city planning, environmental balance, and interspecies communication. People of both worlds respected their partnership, seeing that it was not about dominance, but about collaboration. One afternoon, Ilias and Liara stood at the edge of a floating bridge that overlooked a large crystalline river. The water shimmered with bioluminescent life, reflecting the sky in impossible colors. "Commander," Liara said softly, "I sometimes wonder what brought you here truly, not just the journey or the challenges, but you. How did a human like you arrive on a world like this and earn the trust of my people?" Ilias paused, considering his words carefully. "I did not come here seeking recognition, princess. I came to learn, to understand, to connect. I treated your people and this world with respect, and I treated you with honesty. Perhaps that is why they trust me." Liara studied him, admiration and warmth reflected in her eyes. "It is more than that. You see things others miss. You notice what is important and you act with patience. You inspire trust naturally." Ilias looked out at the horizon, where the twin suns of Aero Prime were slowly setting, casting long reflections across the city. "And you, princess, have taught me patience, insight, and the value of seeing the world from different perspectives. Without you, I would not have understood as much as I do now." Liara smiled, a quiet blush rising to her cheeks. "Then I suppose we are lucky. Two worlds learning from each other, and perhaps two hearts learning from each other as well." Ilias extended his hand to her, a gesture of partnership and trust. Liara took it, their fingers intertwining naturally. The energy of the city seemed to respond, glowing more brightly around them, as if acknowledging the harmony between human and alien. Weeks turned into months, and the partnership between Ilias and Liara deepened. They attended diplomatic meetings together, blending Earth pragmatism with Aero Prime's wisdom. They resolved disputes between different factions using careful listening, creativity, and fairness. Each decision strengthened the bond between their civilizations. One evening, they were invited to a festival, celebrating the unity between humans and the citizens of Aero Prime. The festival was held on floating terraces above a crystal lake, where lights danced on the water in rhythm with music that seemed to come from both human instruments and alien resonances. Elias and Liara moved together among the crowd, speaking with citizens, offering encouragement, and observing the results of their collaborative projects. Liara leaned close to Elias. "Do you see this, Commander? This is what we have built together. Not by force, not by competition, but by understanding, by patience, by respect." Elias nodded. "It is more than I could have imagined, and it is only the beginning. We will continue to learn, grow, and guide together, one step at a time." As the night progressed, the festival became a demonstration of shared culture. Humans and aliens participated in dances, games, and creative contests. Elias and Liara led one of the activities, a puzzle challenge where human logic and alien harmony principles had to work together to succeed. Watching teams collaborate, they realized that their partnership had become an example for everyone, proof that differences could be strengths when united by understanding. Later, when the festival ended, they returned to the palace balcony, overlooking the city now glowing under the soft light of the twin moons. The world was quiet, peaceful, yet alive with possibilities. Liara turned to Elias, her expression sincere. "I admit I worried when you arrived. I thought humans could never understand my world, my people, or me. But you have shown patience, wisdom, and respect in ways I did not expect. I trust you, Elias Gray." Elias bowed his head slightly. "And I trust you, Liara. Not just as a partner, but as someone who has taught me more than any lesson could. Together, we will guide our worlds side by side as equals." She smiled, reaching out to place a hand on his. "Then let us begin together." In the weeks that followed, Elias and Liara traveled to the outer regions of Aero Prime, exploring lands that had remained untouched for centuries. They discovered ecosystems that required delicate balance, ancient structures that held wisdom for generations, and cultural practices that deepened Elias' understanding of the alien society. Each experience strengthened their partnership, as they solved problems using a combination of human ingenuity and alien insight. One day, they arrived at a cliff overlooking a valley where the sunrise reflected off a river of glowing crystals. The beauty of the scene took Elias' breath away. "Commander," Liara said softly, "do you realize what we have built? Not just a bond between two people, but a bridge between worlds?" Elias nodded. "Yes, Princess, wife, we have created understanding, unity, and hope." "And this is only the beginning," Liara laughed quietly. "You are still formal even now, but I do not mind, it fits you." They stood together, holding hands, looking over a world that had once been foreign but was now home. It was a world where humans and aliens could work together, learn from each other, and thrive in harmony. It was a world where respect, patience, and empathy were valued above force. Elias turned to Liara, his voice filled with quiet determination. "No matter what challenges come, we will face them together. I will listen, learn, and support you. And I know you will do the same for me. That is the strength of our bond." Liara nodded, her eyes reflecting the twin suns rising over the horizon. "Yes, Elias. Together we are stronger than either of us could be alone. Together we are a bridge, a partnership, and something more." The city below stirred as the day began, full of life, energy, and possibility. Humans and aliens worked side by side, inspired by the example of the human warrior and the alien princess. Their partnership had not just united two hearts, but two worlds. Elias and Liara remained on the balcony, hand in hand, feeling the quiet hum of the world beneath them. They had faced challenges, learned from each other, and discovered the power of patience, understanding, and mutual respect. Their bond was no longer tentative or uncertain. It was a strong foundation upon which the future of both worlds could grow. And as the sun rose higher, casting light across the floating cities and crystal forests, both felt a deep certainty. Together, they could meet any challenge, explore any unknown, and build a future where humans and aliens worked in harmony. The story of the human warrior and the alien princess had reached a new beginning, filled with hope, partnership, and promise. Under the soft glow of Aero Prime, they smiled at each other. Words were unnecessary. The trust, respect, and care they shared spoke louder than any declaration. They were no longer merely a human and a princess. They were partners, friends, and pioneers of a future that belonged to both their worlds. And in that moment, nothing seemed impossible.